What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Magic the Gathering Arena Color Challenge walkthrough. I'm your host, Raja Burrows, aka the Jolly Raja, and today we're going to be talking about the Keep the Peace deck, which is the Ajani Goldmane deck for the Magic the Gathering Arena Color Challenge. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a beginner-friendly series. We're going to be talking about these decks, doing deck techs, doing gameplay walkthrough. We're really going to be focusing on the fundamentals of Magic the Gathering. Look, I've been playing this game since 1993. The stuff that we're going to be talking about in here is stuff that I wish that I had gotten as a beginner. Now, this theory maybe didn't exist. It was a very new game, but a lot of people have put a lot of thought into this game, and the fundamentals have really solidified. And so if you are new to the game, this is the series for you. Let's get into it. So when I'm looking at a deck, when I'm thinking about how to analyze a deck, what's the deck trying to do, the first thing that I look for is I look at the mana. In this case, it's a mono white deck. We don't have to worry about finding a bunch of different colors. For a deck like this, I think 25 lands is a little high. So what do I mean when I say a deck like this? There is a concept in Magic the Gathering called a mana curve. And the idea of a mana curve is exactly what you see over here. So we can zoom in on this. Each card has a different casting cost, right? So a different number of resources or mana that it takes to cast a given spell, right? And what's really great about Magic the Gathering Arena is that it breaks down your entire deck based on mana cost. So we can see here that we have 10 spells that cost 1 mana, 18 spells that cost 2 mana, 1 spell that costs 3 mana, so on and so forth. It also says that the average mana cost in this deck is 2.3 mana per card. So when I say it's a lot of land for a deck like this, what I mean is that there's a lot of spells in here that do not cost that much mana. If I'm playing a deck that has mostly what are called 1 and 2 drops, meaning they cost 1 or 2 mana, 25 land is a lot. But that's what we're working with, so that's what we're gonna go on for this series. We're gonna go through each of these cards pretty quickly. Because on their own, these cards they don't do a lot. Each card sort of does one specific thing. And throughout the tutorial, right, throughout the color challenge, you're going to see all of these different cards in action. So, Charmed Stray, 1/1 lifelinker. So lifelink means whenever this creature deals damage, you gain that much life. Whenever Charmed Stray enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control named Charmed Stray. Well, guess what? We got 4 Charmed Strays in the deck, so maybe we'll hit something. That would be kind of cool. Sanctuary Cat, it's just a 1/2 for 2 mana. This is what is called a vanilla creature. There's no ability text, there's no rules text, there's just a little bit of flavor text. Cats prowl the corridors of Avacyn's churches in search of devils or signs of their mischief. That's dope. Man, I just love the flavor of Magic the Gathering. Like, how dope is that? How dope is that? But this creature, he's just a 1/2, just doing his thing. Okay, so tactical advantage. I really want to take a lot of time to talk about this card because it comes up a lot in the tutorials in a number of different ways. So tactical advantage is an instant, which means you can play it basically anytime. You can play it on your turn, you can play it on their turn, you can play it at lots of different points in the game. And I think it's a very aptly named card because playing this card requires a really, really keen sense of timing. And in the gameplay videos, I'm going to be talking through when to use these tactical advantages and sort of the nuances of the timing and the triggers and all of that stuff. So don't worry about that. We're going to get into it. But basically what this card says is target blocking or blocked creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So indeed, it's just a little bit of a tactical advantage. It's a little bit of a boost. Nothing super fancy, but as you'll see in the color challenge, you can really use this thing to your advantage. See, it did the, okay. Fencing Ace, 1/1 double strike. Okay, this is an interesting one. A 1/1, not super impressive, but double strike means that it deals both first strike and regular combat damage. So it deals damage twice. Fitting name for a fencing ace. Here's the thing. If you pump this guy, right, if I were to use my tactical advantage on fencing ace, well, now it's a 3/3, and now it's doing 3 damage twice. It can get out of hand really quickly. Hallowed Priest. I love this guy. I love this card. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Hallowed Priest. Again, a 1/1 for 2 mana, not super impressive. But if you're playing a deck that has life-gaining cards, such as Impassioned Orator, which says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life, this guy can get pretty big pretty fast. So when we're dealing with a deck that has a lot of creatures that aren't super impressive on their own, you're really going to want to look for synergies between, all of your cards to, make the most out of them. Get as much of an advantage as you can. And that'll really make these cards that are not super impressive on their own really do some damage. Knight's Pledge. Again, I love this guy with something like Fencing Ace, right? Because this is a permanent +2/+2. So if I put a Knight's Pledge on Fencing Ace, now we have a 3/3 double striker. Serious business. Moorland Inquisitor. Okay. So Moorland Inquisitor has what is called an activated ability. I can activate this ability anytime I could play an instant, which is kind of any time I want, more or less. I can pay 2 and a white. Moorland Inquisitor gains first strike until end of turn. Now, notice it does not give it double strike. It is not like Fencing Ace, but still first strike is pretty good, and you can definitely do some stuff with Moorland Inquisitor, tactical advantage, right? This is all of the pieces of this deck are starting to come together, and you can start to see these connections and these synergies. Pacifism, oh man, this card has been around since forever. This was around during the Clinton administration. Pacifism says, enchanted creature can't attack or block. So if you notice, our creatures, they're kind of small. They just are. That's the nature of a deck like this. It's called a white weenie deck. One of the first decks I ever played. It's been a long-time favorite of mine personally. So when you have a bunch of creatures that, they're pretty inexpensive to cast and they're not super impressive, you're gonna need cards like Pacifism so that you're not immediately outclassed anytime your opponent plays something that's a little bit bigger, right? So I don't like a bunch of Pacifism type cards in a deck like this, but 2, love it. Shrine Keeper, again, nothing fancy. It's just a 2/2 for 2 mana. It's called a bear, right? A 2/2. That's a slang name for a 2/2 creature. It's just a 2/2. It's not doing anything particularly exciting by itself, but in concert with all this other stuff, you could do a lot worse than a 2/2 for 2. All right, Angel of Vitality. 2/2 flying, if you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. Angel of Vitality gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life. Okay, so we're starting to see the life gain theme here, right? We got the Impassioned Orator, we have the Charmed Stray. If we put Knight's Pledge on Charmed Stray, right, if we get those 2 cards together, we're gaining more life. We can use Tactical Advantage on the Charmed Stray to gain some life. Really cool stuff. Leonin War Leader, love this one. A 4/4 for 4 mana. So again, as you can see, the more expensive cards get more impressive. That's welcome to Magic the Gathering. Whenever Leonin War Leader attacks, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink that are tapped and attacking. Okay, this is a very aggressive card. Card does a lot. So, there's only one in the deck, but man, if you get him, He can do some serious damage. But again, he costs 4 mana, so he's not coming down right away. You got to work up to him. Now we got, this is really where the deck starts to shine, right? Look, I love a 2/2 for 2. I'm never going to say no to a 2/2 for 2, but Spiritual Guardian. So we saw this one in the tutorial. Spiritual Guardian enters the battlefield. You gain 4 life for 5 mana for a 3/4. You could do worse. It's not amazing, but you could do a lot worse. Sarah Angel, my girl. 1993 right here. 4/4 flying vigilance. So vigilance means generally speaking, when you attack with creatures, they tap or they turn sideways, which means if you attack, then you can't block with it. Sarah Angel does not work like that. You can attack and block with Sarah Angel. I gotta give a shout out to this flavor text. The angel remembers her past lives like dreams. Her song held up meadows. Her blade drove back darkness. Her wings carried her across the ages. Yo! That got me in the feeling place. Angelic Reward. Okay, so this is a really good instance to talk about how power level scales relative to casting cost. So Angelic Reward, it gets +3/+3 and flying, and it also costs 5 mana. That's a lot of mana. Knight's Pledge, +2/+2, doesn't give it flying, but it only costs 2 mana, right? So you can get, it depends, right? Which card is better? I don't know. That's tough to say. They're both very good cards in their own right, depending on the situation. Look, if you have 5 mana, Angelic Reward is better. If you only have 2 mana, Angelic Reward is the worst card in the world because you're nowhere near casting it. At least with Knight's Pledge, you can do something. Confront the Assault. Okay, we're going to get into some really interesting blocking situations when we get into the tutorial. Here's what I'll say about Confront the Assault. It is very tempting to think that you have to block with all of the creatures that you make. You do not. Let me say that again. It is very tempting to think that you have to block with all of the creatures that you make because you can only cast this spell if you're being attacked. So you're like, oh, well, I got these 3 creatures. I got to use them right now. No, you don't. You just have to cast it when you're being attacked. You can get attacked and then cast this card and say, great, no blocks, and then you can attack with all 3 of them if you want next turn, right? Again, we're going to go through all of this gameplay stuff when we get through the actual games, but just know there's a lot more complexity here than maybe it seems like. And then the last one, Inspiring Commander. This is actually a really important card in this deck. It costs 6 mana. That's a lot of mana. But whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and draw a card. This whole deck is creatures with power 2 or less. I mean, that's basically the whole deck. And so what can be tricky about a deck like this that has such a low mana curve, right? 2.3 mana, that's pretty low. Is that if the game goes longer and your opponents start playing lots of Sarah Angels and things like that, you got real issues. Because if they're playing, cards that cost 5 and 6 and 7 and these massive dinosaurs or whatever, and you're out here playing Shrine Keeper, you're going to look real silly. Inspiring Commander helps offset that a little bit because it's like, all right, it's still only a 2/2, but I get to draw a card and I gain a life and I'm moving myself forward. This card is really, really important to have in the deck overall. All right, so that's the deck tech. Again, I want to make these videos short. I don't want to make these like big half-hour videos. These are bite-sized chunks. I want you to be able to watch these over and over again if you want. Really let the lessons sink in. Thank you for watching this Deck Tech. Be sure to like and subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at the Jolly Raja. Contact info is in the description. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye!